Atlanta will soon welcome a new peace center in the name of former Atlanta mayor and former ambassador to the United Nations, Andrew Young. Today, Invest Atlanta approved $2 million in funding for a global peace institute in Vine City, spearheaded by the Andrew J. Young Foundation. The measure passed with a unanimous vote. The money will help fund the relocation. This money, this $2 million, it'll help fund the relocation of an existing sewer line on the property so that the full development of this project can move forward. Overall, it is a $100 million center that would house galleries, a theater, education spaces, and Ambassador Young's personal collection of papers. And joining us live right now to talk much more about this is Ambassador Andrew Young himself. Ambassador, thank you for being with us today. Thank you for making the time. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for making this public.
Well,
it's embarrassing to me, frankly, because I never think of myself with something this big and lavish, but it's not me. It's the concept of peace and the possibilities of people who are different learning to come together and work out their differences, and that can be a science. I think that, and this is not meant as criticism, but I really don't think that the people who were planning to go to war with Iran ever thought about the Gulf. And the Gulf that and that little narrow bit that could block the Red Sea.
Strait of Hormuz, yeah.
And most of the time, when I was involved in negotiations and debates with the United Nations, we would go over things over and over again before we even talked to anybody, so that we would think of all of the possibilities that might happen, and be prepared for them. I think that Atlanta, with Georgia State, Georgia Tech, Atlanta University Center, Morehouse, Spelman, Clark, Morris Brown, that we probably have 200 nations represented in these schools. And we will be able to give students some trial run experience on rather complicated issues, because we'll anticipate the troubles of the world for years and generations to come. But I don't know what the future holds for us. But I've lived my life because I know who I think holds the future. And I just feel as though Atlanta, well, I give a lot of credit to Bufale Jones of the Woodruff Foundation, who back in the late 60s sat down with Calvin Craig of the Ku Klux Klan and Martin Luther King Sr. of the Civil Rights Movement. And the three of them decided that they were going to work together to bring about an end to racial segregation in Atlanta. And things like the passage of the MARTA referendum, which was only by 400 votes, and the building of the Atlanta airport, which happened almost with no money. Or even the bringing together of the Olympics. We had a lot of trial runs on problems with the Olympics. And that's why I think the World Cup, though different, Atlanta's ready to take on difficult problems because our people have been trained.
A question for you. I'd love to ask, given your experience and given your vantage point and seeing Atlanta and broadly the state of Georgia evolve over the years and over the decades, and particularly with a lens towards Atlanta as a melting pot of a city, racially, culturally, and otherwise. It's gone through a lot of evolutions. Progress has been made. What progress do you think still needs to be made as Atlanta continues to chase, not to be cliche, but a more perfect union here in our city?
Well, no, that's a wonderful cliche. And we just like to make it a reality in the lives of our people. And we don't know what that means, but we won't find out till we get together. And between I see the universities in this city as unique in all the world. 60% of the Atlanta population has been to college. No other city in the world can say that. And to have some of the people who have lived all over the world come together in Atlanta on a regular basis, sometimes under the influence of their academic institutions, but sometimes just because there's a crisis and we need to talk to somebody else who knows and get another point of view, that we can anticipate problems for years to come and prepare our young people and old people to deal with them.
Ambassador, when people go to this center, once it is fully built, the Global Peace Institute that is set to come to Vine City years down the line now, when people visit it and they see your name as the namesake of this Peace Center, what do you hope people say about you? What do you hope people say is your legacy?
Frankly, I don't give a damn. Whatever they say about me is all right. Frankly, I don't get any ego charge out of this. In fact, it's embarrassing to me.
Do you think, Ambassador, do you think a lot of other people who've held all the roles and the titles and the positions here in Atlanta, here in Georgia, and at the United Nations would say the same thing you just said?
I do. You know, I think one of the things that makes us work is there's a natural humility around the people who make the major decisions. I never heard Maynard Jackson bragging about what he had done. I never heard Beaufort Jones or Mr. Woodruff taking credit. Jimmy Carter was the most humble man I know. Martin Luther King never wanted people to look up to him or to give him credit for nonviolent change. It's just, this is who we are. And it works for us, and it's continued to working. And so we want to see how far this business of one nation under God, indivisible, can go. And if we can make it one world under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, we'll all be better off.
Ambassador, you reference some people who now in 2026, fewer and fewer Americans knew in their lifetime. President Jimmy Carter and Dr. King, the generation of folks who knew them personally and who walked alongside them, worked alongside of them. There are fewer and fewer people who have those personal connections to those luminaries. What do you hope people of this generation remember, and how do they need to make sure that it is remembered?
Well, when I was 19, I went to Europe for a summer, and I worked in a refugee camp, and there were students there from 14 different nations of the world. And we worked together building a refugee center, which really only amounted, there was no machinery. We had to dig with a shovel and put it in a wheelbarrow and roll it up a hill. And it was really hard work, and we did it together. But what was really happening was we were understanding 20 different nations and the world how that war happened and what the influences were that created it. And we would talk casually about how we could prevent this from happening again. And I think that's why when I came south to Atlanta, I had already oriented myself as being a child of God on the face of the earth, and my color and class and creed and all that's incidental. How do we get through to the reality of the fact that we do have to live together on this planet? And how can we live together and help each other to survive and to thrive?
Ambassador, when you look at the future, 10, 20, 30 years down the line, and think about Georgia and think about Atlanta and think about our country, what scares you and what gives you hope?
Well, it may sound trivial, but I rooted for a quarterback from Mississippi. That's unusual for me. I visited Ole Miss last year talking about civil rights, and I never liked Mississippi, and I had all the prejudices, and yet I watched that football team, and and then I watched the universities around here, uh, and I see how, in spite of all of the divisions, when we have a winner, it's because each person does the best that they can and they help others be the best that they can. And that's not hard to do when you realize how much we all have to gain by a victory over whatever it is that seems to be a problem at the time.
Ambassador, before we let you go, we're always grateful for your time. Any last message you want to share with the folks here in Atlanta and across Georgia who are watching right now?
Yeah, that this is my father's world. And right now, we got it somewhat messed up. But the democratic process allows us to admit that we're wrong. It allows us to grow. It allows us to teach each other. And it allows us to think the unthinkable and do the undoable. Martin Luther King used to say that the difficult we can do immediately, the impossible just takes a little time. And I think we're on the fringe of doing the impossible, of bringing peace to an area of the world that has, well, it was the year I went to college that Ralph Bunche did the treaty between Israel and the Palestinians. And we're still there. And we knew when Carter was meeting with Camp David, we knew that this was going to continue to be a problem if we didn't solve it. We didn't get it solved under Jimmy Carter. And so it's gotten worse and worse. But there's an old spiritual that says, I don't feel no ways tired. We come too far from where we started from. And nobody told us that the way would be easy. But I don't believe that he brought us this far to leave us.
Ambassador Andrew Young, thank you for your time, sir. We appreciate it.